Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series Accidentally Adopted. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Part 5, Chapter 2. Dear Diary, we're getting ready to sail, but for the first time, like ever, we're sailing without full holds. The important thing for me is to figure out the plushies, keep up my studies, and figure out how to help with the mission. I've been working on the modeling for the 2 versions and putting up some concepts on social media, and people are going nuts wanting one. There are going to be knockoffs, and some people have already done little art projects of him. I like the knitted one, and Greg was a little exasperated when I showed him the reactions. He just muttered about being famous when nobody even knows his name. I reminded him it's his fault for being adorable. He said he can't help that, everyone else has bad taste, and to wait until I meet a good boy. Whatever that is. Someone got a good picture of Lord Justicar putting the medal on, and now that's become the sneaky salute meme. I'm seeing it used a lot reacting to heartwarming stories, like about an orphaned litter being taken care of by a different animal, or a pet waiting for an owner who passed away, and mostly for kids doing kind things. Then there are the funny uses, mostly by teenagers, on posts of other teenagers hurting themselves doing sports. Of course, there are text edits, but a lot of them make no sense unless you're from the culture of the meme. Or maybe not even then. Why is the metal labeled HFY? Greg, me when I get good grades, and Lord Justicar, rude matron. Why is that one so popular? Jukka is weird. With things getting a bit less hectic, things are going back to routine. Kind of. Mom is still busy lining up buyers at our next stop. Daddy is still going over the course with Uncle Yim, and Greg is still working on what he calls combat readiness. He told me to bring everyone past their halfway to the armory to talk about that. There was Greg cleaning the sidearm Uncle Yim machined for him. It looks like a scaled-down electronic pulse pistol with a rack of weapons looming over us behind him when Yeg, Mile, Brev, Wex, and I arrived. "First things first," he said as his eyes lifted to pin Yeg. "I was harsh with you. I'm not sorry for telling you that you couldn't come and fight, but I am sorry that I wasn't kinder about it. Will you forgive me?" Yeg blinked and then said slowly, "I don't know the details, but I know that you had to fight for real when you were younger than me. I have been meaning to apologize for how immature I was about the mission, and I wanted to thank you for caring enough to correct me. If you feel you should have been more kind about keeping me safe, I forgive the harsh words. Thank you, Sneaky." "Good, that's good," he said as he moved on to the cleaning a different part. "The 5 of you aren't exactly kids anymore, are you?" We shook our heads. "But you're not adults either." We shook our heads again. He seemed to be searching the weapon for something. "The most precious thing on the ship is the innocent. The littles are the most innocent. The littles depend on us entirely. So you must suffer damage to your innocence to protect them. I remind you that you voted for this. All 5 of you did. The Among the Star Tides we sing sails into danger." Brev rolled her eyes and started talking. "Stars, we like total—" "Stop!" The coldness in his voice and eyes sent a chill down my spine, and hers too, from her face. "We are talking about keeping the littles alive and safe. Do you understand?" She gulped and answered, "Yes." "I don't like it, but I am an officer, and in this capacity we will be maintaining discipline." "Yes, sir." He flinched a little and continued, "There is a scenario in which you might have to fight. Therefore, I refuse to leave you defenseless in that scenario. In the case that we're boarded, and the adults are either overwhelmed or pinned down in a different part of the ship, and the boarder's goal is kidnapping, it will fall to you 5. Your little brothers and sisters, and cousins and friends will be depending on you. Do you think you're ready?" "No, sir," Yim, Brev, and I said immediately. Mail just looked uncomfortable, and Wex shrugged and said, "I don't even know what ready is." "First, we're going to familiarize you with our most reliable long guns." "Not the sidearms." "The idea that it is easier to shoot a smaller weapon is not correct. Lives might depend on your accuracy. and the long barrel is easier to aim and stabilize. You will be learning the forehand grip for maximum control." He scowled at Wex and said, "I don't care how stupid you look when you're saving your little sisters from slavery." Nobody felt like complaining after that. He told us that we'd be rotating in for training on real weapons after the grown-ups and dismissed us. He's weighty when he's serious. Journal entry 38, date 1/7/6, name Greg George. I woke up in a cold sweat this morning. I was in the pit again, except instead of fighting the googly-eyed Vex, made me watch them inject Lucy and Linus. Thank God I woke up before they. Jesus in a tank, subconscious. Did you have to come up with something like that to be afraid of? I had to hold my plasma caster for an hour to calm down from that crap. That's the kind of nightmare I don't want to process. I just want to fecking forget. Feck me sideways. That crap was terrifying. But this is a sanity journal, so no holding crap back. It's the rule. Anyways, I'm in more memes, and apparently the idea of me being a plush toy has the net fecking on fire, which is good for sales, which I apparently get an even split with our other 4 people in the project and the ship. Kind of threw me for a loop that Lucy wanted to do it that way, but she wouldn't be talked out of it. Some weirdo knitted me, like a little yarn doll of me. Fecking Xenos have no goddamn taste, I fecking swear. If they think I'm cute, wait until they meet a doggo. Not a good translation, but I think good boy is good enough. The best thing would be to show the Xenos a doggo with their pet dog. That crap would be funny. Earthborn Adorable is going to make toy companies so much fecking money. That and the Dart Wars. We're already setting up more structured match at the next station, and since we're going into hyperspace, we'll be off the network except for what's basically email or hypercom. I'll have someone help me set up an email for that Dart Wars later. I don't want the address to be accidentally hilarious. If I do something funny, I want it to be on purpose. Anyway, I briefed the big kids on the extra training today. I think I got it through to their heads that it's not a game. Feck, I hate being an officer. Fecking gets sirred. Fecking sucks. Anyway, the meeting with the Lord Justicar got his name, but feck the spelling that crap. I'm just calling him Fancy Pants. The meeting with Fancy Pants went pretty well, despite him being a big fancy lord or whatever. He was pretty cool. Not as cool as Pops, but at least he wasn't stuffy. Turns out being the captain of a Justicar is what makes him the Lord, and it's meant to avoid confusion when coordinating several civvy ships in an emergency anti-crime action. I continued to amaze the feck out of everyone being sober from drinking tea, and I blew their fecking minds by telling them it's mild stimulant for me. And I'd brew it stronger if it tasted better, except Pops, he already knows. This led on to what might intoxicate me, and I had a genius fecking idea. I described how we make hooch, from the fermentation of the mash to distillation to cask aging. Apparently, they have hooched unaged crap, but still glorious alcohol. Just in tiny amounts, since 1/4 of a tablespoon, at a rough guess, is enough to make them puke, which is what it is for, emergency stomach evacuation. When I told them that my preferred method of consumption is to drink what I approximate to be 2 ounces with tea over an hour or so, the servant lady fecking fainted. When asked whether I have a high tolerance to the word I'm guessing is alcohol, I told them no. They don't believe me. It's whatever. The bad news is that our armory is stocked with about as good as it gets for weapons. The good news is that armor is available. What the feckers want in exchange is, oh, I'll get you back for this, Fancy Pants. I'll get you back. Log 6,001.1.03. Personal. Captain Yomdrall. It is daunting, but we are committed. It's been difficult to chart the course with the lowest likelihood of pirate trap. But it's not like they're consistent about where they rip innocent ships out of hyperspace. Our weapon systems haven't been used since Yamdril and I bought her, but I've kept them maintained. Hopefully, we won't have calls to use them. Hopefully, there'll be enough to drive any pirates away, and Gregory won't have calls to use his skills. Hopefully. Tea with the Lord Justicar was interesting. Thankfully, we were not required to dress formally, so I just selected some nice clothes rather than wearing a work jumpsuit, perhaps appropriate for going to a restaurant. Well, Gregory did similarly. Unfortunately, to his view, his nice clothes are somewhat brightly colored, which only served to make him look more adorable. We were admitted to his private quarters, which were rather lavish, as he had a tea room.
My apologies, my wife will not be joining us,
he said as the maid poured the tea.
She is busy passing judgment on some criminals.
My wife also sends her regards, as she is cargo master upon the star tides we sing. She is preoccupied in filling our holds. Our most recent course has been a significant loss.
I don't have a wife, Gregory said, when the Lord Justicar looked to him.
Then he amazed the Lord Justicar and Major, or the landers, by nonchalantly sipping enough tea for a normal person to quickly feel its effects.
Like I said last time, my name seems hard on you, so just go with either Greg or Sneaky.
Shouldn't you sit down? The Major asked.
You're worried I'll get inebriated? This stuff is a mild stimulant for me.
You jest, surely, the Lord Justicar said as he stirred some sweetener into his tea.
Drop an ice cube in the scorching stuff and I'll gulp it down right now, he said before blowing across the room to cool it.
It is true, he brews it far stronger for himself at home.
I'm limiting it by the taste more than anything at this point. Any stronger and it goes from pleasantly bitter to disgustingly bitter.
Our hosts looked shocked in the most satisfying way, and the Lord Justicar forgot himself well enough to ask,
Do your people get intoxicated by anything in the void? Oh, lots of stuff. We have stimulants that can be dangerous, painkillers that can be abused, mushrooms and chemicals that cause hallucinations. Lots of things, some more or less dangerous to take. Do you ever intoxicate yourself? Well, my drug of choice is, we make it by making a grade mash, introducing microbes that eat the sugars, then distilling the intoxicant by boiling it and putting the steam through a condenser tube. Then it's put into wooden casks to pick up flavor for a few years.
You drink alcohol?
If alcohol is made the way I described. Mind you, it's not always made the same way back home. There are kinds that are only strained rather than distilled for more flavor and lower concentration of, alcohol.
The maid fainted, and there was a bit of commotion as some of her co-workers checked to make sure that she did not hit her head. Then, as they helped her stumble out to lie down somewhere a bit more comfortable than the floor, I explained the proper use of alcohol to him. One of the stirring spoons proved a useful visual aid.
Sorry for all that, Gregory gestured towards the door and continued, but I still don't have any names.
The Lord Justicar looked startled and said,
Apologies, how rude of me. I am Xandred. This is my major of the landers, Maxwell. I am pleased to meet you both properly. Did you want to discuss anything in particular? Or did you just want to shoot breaches into nothing?
Into nothing? Void that, Voxvov chuckled. In the first place, I wanted to get to know you in a less official setting. You're less stiff than the briefing.
We're having a chat over drinks, even if I can't feel them the way you do. Reach me if I don't know a friendly gesture when I see one. Then again, you're both busy men, so you must just want something out of this.
Not as busy as you'd think, Xandred answered. I just captain this tub of justice. Once the target is orderly again, there is not much for me to do. No captains to coordinate, no egos to soothe, no over-eager militias to trim in. All things considered, things went rather well here.
Forgive me if I have a somewhat dimmer assessment.
Apologies, Yomdrill. I was talking about how you handled the situation after the crime was suffered. I've seen captains make a mess of things rather than restoring order.
That was mostly Mom. We went planetside to get my brother back.
Speaking of planetside, I hear you're a lander to your people.
My job is an advanced scout, an Overwatch sniper.
Similar to what we do, but my lieutenant insists that you were fired onto the battlefield in an escape pod.
Stealth drop pods. We're single use only.
Excuse me?
Standard insertion for advanced scouts is via stealth drop pods.
Xandred looked pale as he nearly whispered. That implies the existence of non-stealth drop pods.
Yes, the assault drop pods deliver shock troops to establish a landing place.
They looked so satisfyingly horrified that I couldn't help from adding, he maintains that his nation has never lost a scout before landfall.
A shuttle would be far safer. A big, fat, slow target would be safer in peacetime, sure. But my job isn't peaceful. Wasn't peaceful.
It is well to think of such things, Maxwell said after a sip of tea. I'm considering taking on a civilian role soon, but I do not think the attitudes of man of action shall ever leave me.
Well, apparently there are civilian ships in dire need of combat readiness drills.
I scowled at him while the others nodded gravely. If more captains in this region took it seriously, you might have had more than 60 men to complete the work, Maxwell opined.
That's plenty for a lieutenant. Not a full, but I don't know the translation. Anyway, it's close to the commission for a lieutenant.
Is that in the case of your military?
Well, it might be more or less depending on the formation, especially when it comes to vehicles.
I see.
The biggest issue was that we were under-equipped.
You did rather well.
Yes, but for instance, I had to reposition after every shot. I have a magnetic accelerator now, but that plasma caster isn't very subtle when it fires. Also, we had to be particularly careful about cover, since we weren't armored. Additionally, we didn't have a tactical network, just local comms. That's a bigger deal than you'd think. A mission can change in an instant, and if that change is communicated quickly and accurately, it can save lives.
I see. Your nerve is well earned, Xandred remarked.
I will try not to tarnish it, sir. I was only doing what's right.
Speaking of doing what's right, Maxwell mused, I heard another rumor. It said that you're going after Beastmaster Serberous. And what if we are? I asked.
That would depend on your purpose.
If you're just after putting the Void Sucker through an airlock for revenge, well, we can't stop you, but you'll not have the protection of the treaties.
That googly-eyed void-mating piece of scorched waste knows where my brother's place of safety is. I need to know how he got close, how he got past detection, and how he got away alive, and somehow get that information to the Republic. If it happened to me, it can happen again.
It is well that you were a castaway as shipwreck, and not a marooned. This threat to yours is a threat to ours, as you are a star sailor, Xandred said solemnly. In that case, we can offer some support. I've been watching the local weapons market, and it seems that you've taken up the best of what's available. I wanted one of those new flechette launchers for my own use.
I was hoping for some chemical propellant weapons. Electromagnetic attacks would leave us vulnerable.
I can't help you there, but what about some armor and extra personnel?
The Weising is mostly cargo space. Our quarters deck could take on maybe 2 squads. Getting Linus back was enough to risk our chain of command. But in future actions, I'd rather Pop stay on the bridge. Uncle, too.
I tried to hide my cringe. If I'd been more disciplined in drilling the crew with small arms, then perhaps my brother and I would have taken on a command role instead.
Maxwell smiled into his tea and said, It just so happens that this Beastmaster is also a wanted pirate. Good hunting, lads.
From the memoir on the Beastmaster Serberous. Having escaped from warm bloods putting their disgustingly hair-covered fingers where they're not needed or wanted, I sought out more information. Apparently, an underboss did the one egg-breaking thing that you just never do, and kidnapped one of the blue warm bloods. Of all the lesser beings, the blues just lack the understanding of their place in this galaxy. This Jacovian galaxy. What I found out was rotted stupid. Apparently, Omvia Syndicate was dismantled by a beast from beyond the Monvan Gulf, or at least that's what the blues are claiming. They're mocking us. I say we go back to scalping them. A fine cloak of their prized braids, a new one. The one I inherited from my great brood matron is a fine thing, but too precious for wearing. The scalps of the Weising would do nicely. Then we put the beast back where it belongs. Enough pain will teach it that it's an animal or a primitive again. End of chapter.
I would just like to thank the T5 supporters, Bushmaster 117, Casper Arnholtz, Dragzoon W.R.E, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, Jon Carrington, and Sevaren Serberous. Thank you very much.